Welcome to the Aligned Business Show. Today, I have the absolute pleasure and honor of welcoming on Lisa Fox, the Lisa Fox, to talk about business and especially, I feel like the energy of a business and how we can truly shine as the person we are in our business, set ourselves apart, not in a way that's forced or performative, but really build a kind of business that can be wildly successful while we have fun, live our lives, do what we want. So, Lisa has a past that I feel is quite interesting when we talk about business because it's not the average business coach past or how it evolved into actually helping people make money in their business. You were a performer before you turned into coach, and that has really greatly affected the way you see business, you do business, and you help people do business. So won't you tell us a bit about yourself and your journey and what it is you do and why you do it?
Thank you so much for having me on, Vicky. This is an absolute honor and pleasure. So yeah, I think we can't help but bring our whole selves into what we're doing, right? But I see most people trying to be authentic, right? And trying to knowing who they are, but then there's a disconnect between knowing who they are and also like having this big desire to bring their gift to the world and to be of service, but actually showing up that way and giving that to the world. And the disconnect comes in because people are afraid. They're afraid of showing that. Since I was 8 years old, I've been a performer. I started off playing the fiddle, and I remember so well my very first performance on stage. And I knew, as a small child, I'd been told, I connected with, and I was aware that I was gifted. And so I also had this feeling since I was a little kid that I was meant to be a star. And maybe it's because I was told that. Maybe it's because when people listened to me play music or when people had conversations with me, they were like, they'd look to my mother and be like she's something. Like my very first violin teacher, he came out to the car and to my mother after having a couple of lessons with me, and he was like, this girl has something.
Mhm.
Like she's different. And actually the words that he used, because he was this old Irish guy, he was like, she's a sight, right? And that's like, it's such an Irish word, she's a sight. So, and what that means, if anybody doesn't know, is like, she's something to behold, something to look at, right?
Mhm.
And, but what he really meant was that she's amazing. She's that, that's what it kind of means. Like, she's amazing, she's gifted, she's whatever. And I remember hearing that, not 100% knowing what he meant, but also kind of feeling like, that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And also, yes, I am. Yes, maybe I am. Maybe I am. So I've had this feeling. And I think that most of my clients and most people who come into my world, like yourself, when they work with me, it's because they also have that feeling. I was meant to be a star. And I know that. So my background being on stage since I was 8 years old, playing music, then singing, then dancing, then being an actor, it gave me the opportunity to actually feel every single thing and have every single challenge that comes along with actually putting yourself in the position of people watching you, right? But I feel like a lot of my clients and a lot of people who know they're meant to be a star actually did not have that opportunity. And so for me, what I think I'm here to give the world. It's like I have this light code that is coming through me that is meant to be channeled through me because my whole life was learning as a very shy person, as a very introverted person. Most people don't believe me when I say that, but like as a child, I was like, my face would go red if somebody spoke to me. But on stage, I managed to get over that somehow. But as this person who had all of these struggles, who actually probably was never like it's a miracle that I actually did put myself out there. I experienced all the challenges that my people come to me with tenfold probably. And I have this belief that if you think that you were meant to be a star, then you were. And you sort of owe it to the world to put yourself out there, to put yourself on stage, to be in front of an audience. And so for me, my job is to fill in that disconnect, to reconnect the disconnect between having a gift and actually showing that gift to the world and getting paid for it. Because I think that's the most beautiful thing that you can do. It's the most impactful thing that you can do is actually show your gift to the world and receive for that. It's how things are meant to be. It feels so good. It feels like when that process happens, you actually become the star. You actually become who you're here to be, but also the impact that has on everybody around you is profound because when people can see you and they know what it is that you have to offer and they can connect with that, they connect with something in themselves that lights them on fire and that helps them to live their life path. But the disconnect for most people is that I think, well, for my clients at least, is we, I work with women and almost every woman has a good little girl inside her who has been taught that approval is more important than anything else, and being liked is more important than anything else. The only way that you can be safe is to be liked and approved of. But when you're a star, not everybody likes you and not everybody approves of you. And that disconnect is painful. And that's the gap between you becoming everything that you were meant to become and actually just staying with this invisible gift and feeling fucking frustrated and unfulfilled and resentful and not who you're supposed to be.
Mhm. I feel like this like analogy of the star is so important because when you spoke about it, what came to mind was I think a lot of people when they feel that inner calling or that kind of bigness, it's first of all, it's scary if you have that good girl like I can be judged. People cannot like me. But also, what I see is that we kind of think of a star in a certain way. We kind of think of certain traits and how you don't have to look and you have to act and you have to be in order to be a star. And I feel that there are so many people that can't really relate to that or do that. And if they try, it just becomes really weird. It becomes really fake and it becomes really forced. So I think a lot of the gap and disconnect you're talking about is also the identity of being that person, not just standing on the stage and shining and being able to, have people project shit on you or not like you, but also who am I in that version? Who am I as that star? Who am I when I shine? How does that look? What do I do? Because
Yeah.
we maybe we only see it in a certain way, or we only have this set image of it.
So I think this is like such an important thing. And I think like for me at least, and what I like try to instill in anybody who'll fucking listen to me. Right? I was going to say my clients, but anyone who'll listen to me, my kids, the grass, like fucking the shopkeeper, like everybody. If you if you want to be a star and you're thinking, well, okay, that means that I have to look a certain way, sound a certain way, be a certain way, and that's fake, right? I challenge you, and this is the antidote to that, and it's quick. I challenge you to look at the stars. And I challenge you to, like, if you had to look a certain way, act a certain way, be a certain way in order to be a star, wouldn't all stars be clones of each other? But what makes somebody a star is actually who they are. Some stars are absolute slobs to look at, right? Messy hair, like whatever. Like some stars are shiny and, groomed, and some stars are very ordinary. Some stars are weird. Some stars are like they're unique. They're all unique, right? But what makes a star is actually this. It's number one, actually bringing yourself, how you actually are, into the mix. But in order to be able to do that, you've got to get to a place where you feel comfortable being perceived as you are, right? So I think some people are born to be a star and they go to Hollywood. Some people are born to be a star and they live their life on stage. Some people are born to be a star and they become the most extraordinary engineer who's like traveling the world visiting companies. I don't know what engineers do. Anyway, some people are meant to be a star and they become a coach or they have an online business, right? But no matter what, if you're going to be a star, you have to be comfortable enough to let people perceive you as you actually are. And like, there is a lot of people who talk about performance and it's a dirty word. But if you're going to be a star, you have to know how to perform, right? I don't mean be performative and fake. I mean put on a show.
Mm.
If you have an online business, if you have a business that requires you to be out there in front of people and have people look at you and pay you, you've got to understand that that is show business. Show, like this teacher that I told you about, she's a sight. She is somebody to look at, right? Because whatever magic she has, right? And you turn that into a business and ask people for money, right? Online business is show business. But if that's true, then we have to embrace this word performance and stop trying to think that it's a dirty word. Like everybody's obsessed with like being authentic. But actually, most people who are obsessed with being authentic are the most fake people because they're trying so hard to be authentic, but they're confused. They're actually trying to be authentic, but the real word that should be there is trying to be liked, trying
Mm.
to make sure everybody understands them, trying to make sure that everybody approves of them. Good girls are trying to be authentic. Star women are putting on a show, performing, and letting the world love them, which is just as uncomfortable, or letting the world hate them. So, letting the world love you and hate you is both uncomfortable, right? There's as much pressure that comes along with letting people love you as there is with letting people hate you, right? But when you can get up and perform in your show business as yourself, bringing all of yourself, but it's you, but directed, you, but focused, you, but bringing people on a journey, you, but intentional, right? When you can do that, there's going to be people who are like, this is what I've been waiting for. Like I can't stop watching. I'm addicted. I'm obsessed. She's amazing. Whatever. And there are going to be people who go, fuck that bitch. Who the fuck does she think she is? Especially if you were somebody who was out there being a good girl,
Mm.
because we're not used to you showing up like that. We kind of want you to stay put, right? You don't get to be like that because I'm also like the way you used to be, and it's more comfortable for me to see you stay in the pot of boiling water with me and not like climbing out of it, right?
Yeah.
So, like, when you can like get good with, and for me, this has been a lifelong journey, but it also, now understand that it didn't have to be a lifelong journey, but it like, and when I teach people this, it's so much quicker. right? Everybody's on their own timeline. It sometimes it takes a little bit longer for some people than other people for, but it's so much quicker because of like what I've been through to be able to teach people this. But like when you can actually get out there and let people perceive you just as you are, let them have their opinions, let them have their judgments, let them think whatever they want, let them misunderstand you, let them throw, stones at you, let them become obsessed with you, let them have their own thoughts and feelings, and have that, I won't say not affect you, but know how to emotionally deal with that so that you can keep going out and showing up like that and making your impact in the world. That's when you're a star. That's when you have star power.
The really important part is the looking at the stars. I I love pink because the art is pink. When I was a teenager and I felt I didn't fit in. And I tried everything to be the good girl. I tried everything to be light. I got up and I asked myself, what does everyone want me to be? And how can I fulfill that to a T? Because then I'll be of service. Then I'll be worth something. Then I'll be good. Then I'll be okay. If they like me, if I act the way they want me to, I'm good. It wasn't a question of what do I like? What do I want? Where are my boundaries being crossed? It's like, what can I do for others? How can I live up to their expectations? And the song where she sings, like, LA told me, if you want to be a rock star, you have to change everything you are and be like Britney Spears. It was like, that hits so deep. And what Pink actually did was, you're not going to change me. I am not that. That might be your idea of a star. That might be your idea of what anyone has to look like, act like, sound like in order to make it and have success right now. But that's not me. So I'm going to go do me. And she's still around. And the people that try to be changed and altered into that image are not.
Exactly.
So that is like, it gives me chills when I think about Adele. You would never see Adele with the voice of a goddess act like Britney Spears or Christina Aguilera. And why would they? But that is, I think that's what we kind of feel we have to because we've been brought up looking at ideals or correct ways to be, whatever that means. So I think for a lot of people, when we start showing up, and like you said, you have a lifetime experience when you start performing from a very young age of being judged or loved or people watching you and dealing with that. A lot of people only have that when they start their business because their lives has been very protective in a small bubble. But it's not so much. We think we don't want to be judged by strangers.
Yeah.
Think having the internet troll would be the first troll will be, oh. But it's actually where are we judging ourselves? Where are we not comfortable, confident, and accepting ourselves as who we are? And where are we afraid that that is going to be mirrored? And who close to us are we
Yeah.
afraid going to say, you know what? I don't like you that much now. I liked you better in that version. And can we handle that? That is
Yeah.
the real test. And I think so many people aren't prepared for that or know how to handle that.
So that's, listen, these are you brought up two things that I think are the first two things that people struggle with
Mm.
when they think about having star power, or even like they also they'll reject star power completely because they're like, if I have star power, immediately I know that my mother is going to hate me,
Mm.
or maybe not hate me, but comment, every day about something, And I always say to people when I start working with them, when they say, "Oh, everybody's going to judge me, everybody's going to criticize me, da da da, everybody, everybody, everybody," and I was like, "Who's everybody?" And they were like, "I don't know." And I'm like, "Yeah, but if you think about who everybody is, like, what are you really worried about?" And they were like, "People won't like it." And I'm like, "Well, who? Strangers on the internet?" Yeah, I mean, I guess like strangers on the internet, but that that's kind of like they see that as like a problem down the line. It's like stranger. I know that probably will bother me once I start getting haters, and it's kind of a problem I want to have, right? I understand that that's actually like the dream. Like when I get a hater, that means I'm kind of making it, right? We understand this and we know, oh, I don't want that to happen. However, it's also a sign that I'm succeeding. But they won't even let them get to themselves to get to that point because their first hater is internal, right? And usually, like, there's one person that they're really thinking about, one face that pops into their mind when they think of making the video where they're just the little weirdo freak that they are. Or they make the video where they're actually expressing themselves in like the way that they know feels the most fun to them. There's that one face that pops in. For for everybody it's different, but for most people it's either their mother, a sister, a friend, somebody who, as you said, somebody close to them, or their husband, right? Or their ex-husband. Somebody close to them who knows them really, really well as a good girl, right? Somebody who does not call for attention, does not bring people in, who's more committed to being approved of and liked. And they like them that way. They want to stay. They know that their sister wants them to stay down here in this little box with them, right? And I want to just tell you that most of the time we're wrong about that person. Most of the time, the person we're most worried about is actually like will surprise you. And I say this from personal experience, and I say this from experience with most people that I've had that I've coached through this. That when they actually do put themselves out there as themselves and show up in their star power, that person they were worried about is cheerleading, is going, I'm so proud of you. Oh my God, this is amazing. And that person gets inspired. And that person then gets changed and transformed by them showing up in that way. But usually there is another person who they actually weren't even thinking about at all, who will surprise them in a bad way. And that hurts. That really does hurt, right? But and this is, I think for me, this has been the most painful part of success is the people who do reject you along the way, the people who leave and who can't handle it and who have their own shit going on and they just can't bear to watch you become yourself and become so expressed because it triggers them too much for whatever reason. Like I lost a best friend and we never even had a conversation about it. She just disappeared. She just ghosted me. And I know why, because there was enough conversations before, like when I was starting to put myself out there. There was one particular conversation where she told me she was embarrassed for me. And I was like, don't be. I said, I know. Like my intention is to be embarrassed because that's the reason I've stopped myself for so long is because I was afraid of being embarrassed. But actually, I know that that's the one thing that's stopping me from actually expressing myself. So I am going to be embarrassing. I'm going to feel embarrassed and and that's okay. And you know what? You don't have to watch. If it's too uncomfortable for you to watch, just stop looking. And she's like, "Oh my God, that's amazing. It's amazing." And then like slowly over the period of a couple of months, the more money I started to make while being embarrassing, the less I saw of her, the less texts she responded to, till ultimately like she there was one very important thing that happened in her life. And I called her and I was like, "Oh my God, I heard about it through another friend." And I rang and I was like, our other friend told me about this thing. This is amazing. Like, why didn't you tell me? And she's like, oh, I'm just sick of talking about it. I was like, oh, okay. And that was the last conversation I had with her. And I tried again to chat with her, but nothing. And I was like, that shit hurts. And was that person actually my friend? Like she throughout my life, she has truly been a friend to me, and that's what makes it sad. But she could not be my friend. And it has happened again since then with somebody else. But it was much easier for me to let go. It was much easier. Yeah, okay, whatever. I know this. I've been through this. And I'm not going to waste my life and my energy and my emotions and on like trying to make things different. I can't change you. All I can do is be me.
The first time for everything is the worst, right? So it's not like you get cold or unbothered, but it's like, okay, I've been here before. I know how it feels. I know what this is, and I can handle it. But I do feel it's so important to say, like, a lot of people live their lives trying to be the version of themselves that other people are comfortable with. And we do this out of the pureness of our heart because we don't want to upset them and we want them to be happy. And of course, I can do this, I can do that, I can shape shift, I can change, I can bend, I can do whatever because then they're happy. But from our very limited perspective, we don't see that we are not just keeping ourselves small and limited and restricted. We're also keeping them small and limited and restricted because like what you said before, sometimes when we change and when we evolve and when we move forward and we dare to do things, we inspire others.
Yeah.
And having a relationship like that with a friend that says, I can be your friend as long as you never change. Both of us make a pact where we don't do anything, we don't exceed our current level, we don't have bigger dreams, we don't change, we don't do anything. We
Yeah.
can stay like this forever and we could be friends. That is not good for anyone, not for you or the person.
That's
Right.
right.
So either we can move, we can, if I want to live my life and I want to go for my dreams and I want to show up online, I want to be a star, if that is something you can admire and feel like, oh my God, this is so exciting. I want to take part of this. I want to see where it's going. I like this version of you. I like this fire. I like this energy. Let me see who's my new friend, who's becoming.
Yeah.
If that is something they can do, you can continue on having a relationship, and it goes for family and partners as well. But at the moment when they say, I can only love you until this, if you peak higher, I can't, that's the time you know, okay, we have peaked. Like we have made it to whatever we can make it to. And if we are to continue, we are both going to be miserable.
Yeah. And like I think that we can still love the people who decide to that not to continue with us, because they
Absolutely.
can, we can still have like a lot of love in our hearts for them, but also love ourselves more,
Yeah.
right? And we can trust that anybody who can bear to watch it and or come along with us, like that's exactly the right thing. And that's going to be most nourishing and beneficial to everybody. If somebody can't right now, if they just can't with me, it's hurtful and hard, but it's okay. And as you said, it gets easier. And also, most people don't give a shit. Like that is also the other thing. I think that can be a little bit hard when you're like, okay, I'm a star. I'm gonna like step into my own star power. I'm gonna get myself out there. It's surprising and a bit cold or a bit, I don't know, like flat when the people who are closest to you in your life, or just like all of your extended network, when they're not like all going, when they're like, huh? Oh, you have a business. Oh, and you're like,
I
yeah,
know.
no big deal. But that was the other thing I was going to say. I think the best gift that we can give ourselves is actually like when it comes to the relationships that we're concerned with, or the relationships that matter to us. The best thing we can do is actually not talk about our businesses at all. Like, that is my philosophy in life that has served me the very best since I really brought star power into my business, is that I actually don't talk about it with anybody unless they are so interested and so excited by it and are so like just hungry to hear more about like what I'm doing in that kind of way where it feels good and I don't feel like either they're going to fucking try and advise me about shit they have no idea about, or that they're going to go like, I don't know if you should be doing this. If it feels in any way that way, like literally I will never bring up a conversation about my business. I will, and it's that's what's hard is the more successful you get, when you have a win, you're like, I really do want to talk about this now. And it's like, I've just learned to celebrate wins with people who get it, with a close circle of people. A lot of the times I don't even celebrate wins with my husband, who I love and who is so for me and who is so like excited and so with me on everything. Because I just learned the hard way that like he can't get it because he's not doing it. And so expecting him to get it is like asking him to imagine an alternative universe. And he also feels like if I talk to him about it, because he's so kind and so beautiful, he thinks that I want him to weigh in and I don't. Right? Like, so I just found like, and there's easy ways to do it. Like people actually really struggle with this. It's like, how can I not talk about my business to the people who like care about me and who are interested? Just change the subject.
Mhm. And
So
find somebody you can talk to because
find somebody
it's
you can talk
important.
to. But what people really struggle with, yes, find somebody that's so important, right? It is important to have people to talk to about your business. Have a mentor. Like that is the single most important thing for me. That is why I invest so much in mentorship. I have invested hundreds of thousands of euro into mentorship because the more I succeed, the more important it is for me to have somebody in my corner who gets it, who's been where I am, and who understands to celebrate with me, to support me, to guide me, all the things, right? So even if I don't need to learn something specific, the value of having somebody in my corner is unmeasurable, right? Because most people, you actually can't talk to them about it because it will drag you down into a pit of despair. And but I think what most people struggle with in terms of not talking to people is you got to train yourself not to bring it up. Like the power of just actually holding your shit together and not feeling like you owe it to everybody, not looking for everybody's approval is so powerful. Like it's just game changing.
And that validation piece is so important. I feel like that goes for all areas of our business. We don't realize how much we want validations. And whenever I enter into a business space or into any paid program, a container with my clients, whatever, there is always some level of that. I want approval. I want validation. If it's in our content where people are stressing that is not reaching enough people, getting enough likes, it's the validation. If there is the emails and people opening them, the opening rate is the validation. If it's the conversations you are having, whatever, there is like this piece of validation. It is so often the root cause of the actual problem because that is part of what we are designed to as people to like agree. We are meant to live together and kind of make it work. And that means we kind of have to agree on things. We need to agree on, do we want war or not? Do we want politics or not? Do we want food supplies where everyone gets the same, or do we want everyone can hunt for their things? What do we want? What do we agree on? Because then we can live inside this safe little circle, and that's still so deep in us.
And it's so subconscious. I always say this good girl thing, it's a cult. It's a cult.
Mm.
Exactly what you said. We all agreed that you're not allowed to do things that make people not like you. We all agreed that you've got to put your hand up before you speak. We all agreed to live by this thing where like if everybody in your life can and everybody who looks at you does not approve, then you're doing it wrong. We all agreed that if somebody misunderstands you, you're out. We all agreed that if like I don't all this shit like if anybody's triggered by you, you're bad. And we don't even know that we're subscribed to it. We don't know we're in the cult. How you'll know you're not in the cult anymore is actually when you're in star power. Because you will have people going, you will have people, she said this and I don't agree. You will have people like saying, did you hear about that Vicky one? She is fucking out there. I don't know. I'm not on with this anymore. She used to be nice. You will have people going, fucking bitch. But you'll also have people going, yeah, thank you. You will also have people going, it's just something about her.
Mm.
Doesn't even matter. Like, this is what star power does. You see all this pressure that we put on our content? We think we're putting all this pressure on our content to say the right things so that what people will buy, right? And so we think about it and we overthink it and we analyze it and we edit it and we spend so much time in it and blah, 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 blah. Whereas actually, we're not doing any of that to get to be perfect or that so that people will buy. We're doing all of that just in case anybody might take anything out of context, just in case anybody might get triggered by one of the things that we say. So we like go, oh God, no, well, I can't put that in there. Okay, let me fix that. But actually, that was the best line in it. That was the thing that was the most true. And so when we do that and when we get sucked into that good girl cult and we put all this pressure on every word that we say because we're subconsciously trying to get everybody to approve and like, what happens is then we rob ourselves of our star power and we don't allow people to make up their own minds. Literally, we go kind of invisible because people are like, when we're in the good girl cult and we do all this and we work so hard on our content, what happens to our content is it becomes really invisible because nobody feels anything. They're just like, that's nice. And you'll have people who are in the good girl cult going, oh my God, I love this so much. That really hit. Ah." And you'll have these people who fucking love you being the underdog, who will be your raving fans when you're watering everything down.
Mm.
And as soon as you then actually step into star power, they'll be like, "Ugh, heathen, you know, and they'll be gone in a flash and they'll be talking shit about you. But then you'll also have other people who are like, so once people are feeling something, anything, that is the first sign that you have truly stepped into star power.
Mm.
Once people are having reactions to you, when people misunderstand you, that's a good sign, you know? And like there's so many levels of this. And I recently, a few months ago, realized I had slipped back into the cult
Mm.
because things were going well, right? And people were like buying and people were like uh going, yay. And I was like, something did feel off though, because I was like, it's been a long time since anybody came for me. Like, and I was like,
Where
which is
are
great,
the haters?
but which is great. Like, we don't want drama, but like, I was like, but at the same time, I'm a bit bored. I'm a little bit like, I feel a bit frustrated, but it's nice and it's comfortable. But and I asked my mentor, I said, can you have a look at my content and like just be brutal? And she was like, yeah, your content is fine. And I was like, oh no. And I was like, okay, give it to me. And she was like, what? If you want to be everybody's best friend, totally fine. And I was like, fuck it. Fuck a duck. I've done it again. And so I had to sit with myself and I literally wrote on a piece of paper, what do I believe?
Mm.
What do I stand for? What do I stand against? When I wrote the list of things I stood against, I got triggered. I
Mm.
was like, oh, people are not going to like that. They're not going to like that. And I know that people will not everybody will understand that. I know that if I just say it like that, some people will take it out of context. Some people will see themselves in what I stand against and go, oh, she stands against me, moi, and they're not going to like it.
Mm.
And I was like, okay, that's what you got to talk about.
Yeah. You gotta be okay with that.
Because, yeah, and when you do that, what you see is like people start, you become a sight again, right? And you don't say the things to be controversial or to hurt anybody or to intentionally like make people misunderstand you,
Mm.
right? But when you are willing to say the things that are true to you and that you are aware that not everybody's going to agree with, you actually do start standing out to the right people then. And yeah, people get triggered and they go, oh my God, I can't believe you just said that. But it's such a good sign. But if you're not okay with it, you're never going to do it,
No.
right? So you have to be okay. If you're born to be a star, Your only job is to learn how to be okay with what it takes to be a star. Because if you don't become okay with it, that gift that you have is useless. It's a waste. You literally took your gift and you threw it away. But if you become okay with becoming who you were always meant to be and being a star, the reward is that your gift is put to use, people benefit from it, and you get paid for it. It's so simple. And like anything that is simple, it's easy to do, but it's easier not to do, right? So if you're willing to be uncomfortable, if you're willing for it to have a life that will have duality in it, then you're going to make it. But you have to understand that the duality that comes along with being a star and having star power is a trade-off. You're swapping one duality for another. But this duality is very small and comfortable. And it's like you're trading being liked for being broke, right? Whereas here, you're trading being willing to be loved or hated with being rich and fulfilled,
And
right?
fulfilled. That's the thing. Like we can all try to be stars. And like again, if we go back to the Pink and Britney example, they could both be stars. They could both be paid. But if Pink have tried to do it as Britney, she would not be fulfilled. She would not be happy. She would not have created the song she have created. She would not have impacted the lives she has impacted. She would not have had the life she had and really fulfilled her purpose as her because she's tried to do it like somebody else. I want to
And
thank you a million times for your time and your wisdom and this kind of different road leading into business with the star power and the show and being a performer, but not in the way that most people think of performance. And like you said, it's not putting on an act; it's putting on a show. But the show as you will always be better than trying to be something you're not.
yeah, and anybody can do it. All you need is a willingness to do it. That's it.
Thank you so much for being here. I hope that this conversation is going to reach so many people because I do feel like this is a big missing piece and a big block for a lot of entrepreneurs, like wanting to move forward, wanting to do the thing, feeling the calling, having something to give. But then there are all the judgment, all the things, all the fear, all the insecurity, all the, if I do this, then what will happen? And if we don't close that gap and we don't find a way to take that step, there won't be any steps afterwards. Like that dream of making a lot of money and having the life you want and doing what you want and really waking up fucking happy is always going to be elusive and it's just going to be a dream because you need to take that first step out into the very, very discomfort of leaving the life you have that's comfortable and well known for whatever's coming. Right.
And it's the first step that's the hardest, like jumping into a swimming pool, jumping into the sea. That impact, that first bit, is like, that's why we don't do it. But then it's easy after that.